Hello, and welcome to this mini class, Crystal Clear: How Our Businesses Create Change. I'm Amelia Ruby. I am the host of Off the Grid podcast and the founder of Softer Sounds Podcast Studio. And I have been sharing my work on the internet for the past decade and running my podcast studio full time for almost 5 years now. And during that time, I have been through many waves of feeling like my work was important and powerful and it mattered in the world, and also feeling like so much was going on in the world that my tiny business couldn't be of consequence. And even, how dare I talk about my business with all of this going on? So I created this class of sorts at, the day after Trump was elected for the second time in the US. So in the fall of 2024. And at the time, I taught this live just, 2 weeks after the election. I offered it for free. Anybody could RSVP and attend. And I didn't record it because I really wanted us to be present in the room together and to be brainstorming and co-creating new possibilities for our work. The idea from the workshop really came from this place of feeling so frustrated that Trump's election was heralded as this great win for business and even a great win for small business. And I wanted to be very clear, crystal clear, in fact, that his presidency was not any kind of win for me and my business. And not just that it wasn't going to make me money, but that I stood against it full throatedly. I didn't care if him being in power was going to benefit businesses or make people money or even make me money. I stand against everything that he stands for politically and otherwise. So I created this workshop so that small business owners, artists, and creatives, self-employed folks of all kinds across the self-employment spectrum could come together and think about what does business mean to us, and how can our businesses create change, not just in general, but positive change for liberation. How can our businesses be a force for envisioning and bringing to life the world that we want to be a part of? So that's where this class came from. And as I've already mentioned, I taught it for free in fall 2024. But now at the start of 2026, when I'm re-recording it, I feel like we are back in this period of turmoil. I mean, frankly, all of 2025 was turmoil. I'm not saying there were horrible things that happened last year in Trump's first year as president, but I feel like in the moment I'm recording this, we're seeing such increased violence from ICE as they have occupied many cities across the nation. We are also seeing Trump invade Venezuela, threaten to take over Greenland. The shows of power have gotten more and more intense and awful. And I wanted to share this again, because as that happens, I'm seeing another wave of just the existential crisis and doubt and dread from small business owners and artists, asking ourselves, what role does my business play in all of this? And how do I keep going through it? And, sometimes I think the answer is you don't. You actually stop business as usual and you go to the protest, you get on the street, you do other things. And sometimes you have to keep going. You have to keep selling your things. You have to keep teaching your classes. You have to keep supporting yourself through your work. So in this presentation, in this class that I'm now recording for all of you, we're going to talk through some of this. I'm going to talk through my thoughts on how businesses create change, why I think this is so important, and I hope that this can support you as you maneuver toward liberation in the weeks, months, and years ahead. So let's begin, shall we? When I started this workshop, I wanted to go back to the very basics. If we're talking about how our businesses create change, what is business and what is at stake in business? So as I've written here in my notes, business is how we bring structures and systems to our creative practices and offerings so that they can make, hold, and channel resources. So I pretty clearly work with creative business owners, and the businesses that we're creating come from our creative spirits, energies, and practices. So we are I believe all artists on the inside, we are making things in the world, even if it's simply or not so simply making meaning of our experiences in the world. And business is how we bring structures and systems to that work. Whatever your creative practice is, maybe it's storytelling, maybe it's writing, maybe it's painting, maybe it's building operational systems for nonprofits. Like all of those are creative practices. And business is how we build structures and systems around those practices such that those practices can make, hold, and channel resources. Now, often when we're talking about resources in business, we're thinking about money. So business is how we build structure and system around our creative practice to make money from it. But there are so many other resources that are happening or flowing through businesses, right? Our time, our energy, there's power that flows through businesses, through proximity to powerful people, or through establishing our own power in our business. So in essence, that's what I think business is. It is the practice of building those structures and systems around our creativity such that we can make, hold, and channel those resources. So you might make money in your business, you might hold money in your business bank account, you might channel money through your business and redistribute it. Similarly with time, you might carve out time for yourself in your business, you might hold time in your workday, you might donate time elsewhere. We can think about this for all of these resources. Now, if that's what business is at large, like what is a business, or like what is your business or my business when we're talking about a specific business, not business itself? So a business, in my opinion, is simply a vessel that pools and distributes the resources of one or many people. So again, your business is just this structure. It's the systems, it's the vessel, the container that pools all these resources and distributes them as needed. So your business holds the money that comes from your clients and goes into your bank account. And maybe that money goes from your bank account to another small business, or to, the power company, or to, your car payment. Like we are distributing resources through our businesses. But the purpose of the business is to be that vessel, to be that container. Now, why does this matter? What is at stake? Well, if we think of business as structure, as systems, as a vessel, if we think of businesses as a way that resources move through the world, we can think about how in capitalist businesses, in VC-funded businesses, the goal is to pool the resources and hoard them for very few people, right? Typically the owner of the business or the shareholders of the business, particularly the shareholders who have a lot of shares and are on the board, right? So I think all of business is about pooling and distributing resources, but there are different economic systems that distribute those resources in different ways. And so if we are thinking about that, then there are different opportunities for businesses to create change in how they handle resources. So here are 3 ways that I think businesses can create change. The first is that businesses can create things that help people get free. This is the what your business does. So your business may make zines that teach people how to get off of Spotify. I say that because there's literally a zine next to me that is about that, right? That is an object that you can sell in your business that helps people get free. Or you may be a service provider or a healer, and your business is to help people heal trauma such that they can find their own internal and external liberation. That is the what of your business. Like your business may create and sell things that explicitly work toward people's liberation. Your business also might not. Maybe you sell nail polish and you're like, well, I don't really know how nail polish works for liberation, right? I mean, it's beautiful and beauty can be a part of liberation. But maybe your business isn't making change through the things that you create and sell. So our second option here is your business can create change if you embed liberatory values in the systems, structures, processes, practices, and offerings of your business. This is the how your business works. So maybe you make nail polish in your business, and maybe the nail polish itself is not helping people get free, although I'm still problematizing that, right? Like maybe your nail polish is for, trans trans communities who are using it to express their gender and their like lived experience. And like that is a liberatory act, right? So, there's so many ways the things we create can help us get free, but let's also talk about the how of our business that can be toward liberation. So maybe in your business, you offer yourself or your team paid menstrual leave, right? That is a way of helping all of us rest as needed, of living into our experiences and helping us get free in the how that we do business. Maybe you have a shorter work week or periods of time that you plan to take off and that you're rebuilding your schedule for more liberation. Maybe you take one day of the work week and you use that time for organizing work or something else. Like you build those values into how you do business. Maybe every time you meet with a client, you start with 3 deep breaths, hands on the body, nervous system regulation, and grounding practice. That's a liberatory value that fights against the urgency and efficiency of our supremacist culture, of the way that we are, quote unquote, supposed to do business. And so in that case, how your business works is helping us get free. It's moving us toward liberation. And then the third way that businesses can create change is that they can channel their resources toward collective liberation efforts. So maybe you run a consulting company and you work with like Forbes 100 super intense corporate clients and you sell them like kind of weird packages. I'm like, what do you even sell them? You sell them legal services. So, the what of your business is maybe not so much about liberation. The how you're working because you're in that intense corporate consulting environment is not maybe so much for liberation, but maybe you donate 30% of your earnings toward a liberatory cause. That is a way that you can channel the resources of your business toward collective liberation efforts. This is the why and to what end motivating it all. Now, there may be some critiques of this like legal corporate consulting example that I just used, but in the legal space, we see many independent lawyers who do plenty of pro bono work, right? Or who do donate portions of profits toward causes that they care about, even if they're still entrenched in, a traditional legal system. So I think that no matter what business you run, you can find ways to create change through one of these avenues. Again, the what your business does, the how your business works, or the why and to what end motivating it all. And for many of us, we're working toward change on all of these levels. We are creating things that help people get free. We are doing that in ways that help us and the people we work with get free. And we are also redistributing some of the profit from that to other organizations who are doing work that we admire. I think that, when I tap into that, I just feel so grounded in different ways that my business can create change, right? There are many options. These are just 3 sort of layers that I can think about change on. And again, it all goes back to how we are pooling and distributing resources in our business. I also just want to say that when we talk about creating things that help people get free, having values that help people get free, you are included in that. Like if your business helps you get free, not through like the sort of financial freedom fire movement way. I'm not thinking like that. But if your business helps you deprogram from capitalism, from white supremacy, from patriarchy, that is another way your business creates change. By working against these systems, and we are included in the parts of our business that get to change and get to benefit from change and liberation. So I've used this word liberation a lot now. So let me go ahead and define it. So what is liberation? To me, liberation is freedom plus love. It is having agency that is interdependent. It is feeling free while loving myself and others. It is also the end of, or at the very least, the interruption of white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism, ableism, colonialism, transphobia, homophobia, racism, sexism, misogyny, war, prisons, borders, genocide, and all systems of oppression. That list is not exhaustive. It is just a beginning point. But I think that liberation works toward the end of that. I think liberation, in my opinion, is an abolitionist practice. It looks to remove power over structures wherever we can, and to reject the violence of those power over structures. So to me, that means embracing and uplifting queer folks, trans folks, disabled folks, chronically ill folks, BIPOC communities, immigrants, women, and so many more marginalized individuals and groups. The folks who are, at the bottom of the power over structures, for whom power is over them, we want to embrace and uplift those communities, including ourselves, in our work toward liberation. We want to flatten the hierarchies. We want to be in it together. And I think that liberation rebukes false limits, and it centers values like interdependence rather than independence, abundance rather than scarcity, cyclical change rather than linear growth, regeneration rather than exploitation, and more. So back in 2020, I wrote an entire feminist manifesto on these sort of like values that we can flip or reject or shift such that we can work more toward liberation. And I've linked that here in this document, and wherever you're watching this, there should be a link below to read more of that if you're interested in some of my feminist liberatory values. But it's also not just about me, which is why I immediately want to go into sharing, folks that I want to uplift who are thinking about creative small business in liberatory ways. I really love the work of Ayana Zaire Cotton, of Shivani Bhatia, of my dear friend Kining Zhu and Taylor Elise Morrison. I really admire Cody Cook-Parrott's work, as well as my friend Nick Antoinette's work. I really look to Cher Hale, Bear Hebert, Africa Brooke, Lexi Merritt, Becky Mollenkamp. There are so many others when I think of this too. Folks like Saray Jarrell Johnson and Daje Alo, who I will also add to this list. By the time you see this doc, it will have some more names in it. But I think that we can always be learning together with people who orient their work toward liberation. And for some of these folks, that is the content of their work as well. But for others, it's just in the how that they are working and moving through the world. They are doing business differently in a way that I think invites in more freedom and love, and that focuses on those 3 areas of change I mentioned before: the change in the what we do, the how we do it, and the to what end we are doing it for. So before we move into some prompts and reflections, I just have one more amendment here, which is that I called this workshop Crystal Clear because I wanted to be crystal clear about where I stood and what I thought business is, or what I think business is and can do. I wanted to do that because I think it's very valuable to be clear in our commitments, to say the quiet things out loud, as my friend Nick Antoinette puts it. But we can be crystal clear to ourselves and each other while remaining opaque to the powers that be. So this is something that I really learned from Edouard Glissant's work, which is largely about not remaining illegible to colonial and white supremacist forces, people, systems, as a Black author and writer and poet and person. And so I highly recommend reading his work around this, but I'll just say briefly that especially in the time that I'm recording this, when we are seeing such intense digital surveillance, I think it's very important that we protect ourselves and each other in how much we share online, where we share online, how we communicate. I think there is a lot of value in being illegible to the state. And so when I'm thinking of being crystal clear, I am crystal clear in the commitments that I make to you, but I don't think that means I need to just be transparent to everyone and share everything with everyone. And in fact, I don't think that's a wise strategy in the world that we live in. So yes, I'm here to be crystal clear, and also to question who gets to be transparent and still stay safe. So I just wanted to add that kind of asterisk here to clarify, I suppose, my intentions about this phrase and to uplift some other thinking around it. So with that all said, now that we've shared some of this time together, I've created some prompts and reflections for different ways that you can think about how your business can create change, right? I just sort of shared my lofty philosophy around this, but what do we actually do? How does it actually work? So I've divided these prompts and reflections into 3 sections. I'm going to talk through them now, but I would encourage you to use this Notion workbook to actually fill them in for yourself. When I taught this live, we actually did some of that together, but for now, I'm just going to kind of talk through the different prompts. So there are prompts on resources and flow, prompts on change and challenge, and prompts on making those crystal clear commitments to yourself. So we'll begin with resources and flow. When I think about resources and flow, this gets back to your business as a vessel, right? It's pooling and distributing resources. So what are those resources? Who do they belong to? And what feels abundant while other things feel scarce? So this first question here is, what resources are flowing through your work or business? If you click these triangles here, I've offered some ideas of answers. Time, money, energy, space, art, audience, alignment, relationships. These are all sorts of things that can flow through your business. If you're filling this out for yourself, I'd also invite you to get more specific. So time is flowing through your business. How much time? 20 hours a week, 2 hours a day? Maybe you can ask yourself that. Money is flowing through your business. How much money? Where's it coming from? We'll get into that a bit here, but for instance, maybe a resource flowing through my business is a $1,000 a month retainer client that I've had for a while. Similarly, you could think about relationships that flow through your business. Maybe you know somebody who's like a big wig at a tech company, and that relationship can be a resource that your business relies on, but also redistribute some of the knowledge from. So this is just a beginning list. I'd encourage you to start here, think about these categories, write more categories of your own, and also get more specific about what resources you do have access to. We all have access to resources. If you are watching this, you have access to the internet. That is a resource. And so you may feel like you have a lot of resources or very few, but you do have them of some kind. The next question is, whose resources are flowing through your work or business? So here we can think about clients, friends, your audience or followers or listeners. So these, clients and friends are people you might know. Your audience is maybe people you don't know, but who are tuned in or attuned to your work. But then also, I'm thinking here of the exploited workers who make MacBooks and iPhones. I'm recording this on a MacBook. I know that this was made by so many people who I will never meet and who are likely unpaid and undernourished in their work. And so their resources are also flowing through my business. So here we can think on so many levels, the visible, the highly visible and less visible levels of relationality in our businesses. Whose resources flow through your work? And then once you've made these lists of resources, which feel abundant and which feel scarce? Do you maybe feel like you have a lot of time in your business, but very little money in your business? Do you have a lot of money, but very little time? Do you have a lot of employees, but not enough work for them to do? Do you have a ton of hope, but not so much results? There are so many ways you can think about this. And obviously abundant and scarce is not a binary, but you can sort of start placing these on a spectrum. I feel like I have more of this, but I have less of this. And how do I work with that? So these are just 3 prompts to begin considering what resources are available in your business. The next prompts are on change and challenge. So this is where we start to think about how are those resources pooling and distributing. So the first question here is, what and who are your resources flowing toward? What and who does your business stand for is a follow-up question. So maybe your resources are flowing toward community organizations. Maybe they're flowing toward your bank account. Let me tell you, the first few years of my business, there were a lot of resources. I was flowing the majority of them through my business into my bank account because I'd never had real financial stability before, and I needed to build that for myself through my business. Maybe your resources are flowing toward love, toward your customers. They can be moving toward so many things, but think about, where does the money, the time, the energy, the power go in your business? As you think about that, what and who are your resources flowing away from? If you're that corporate consultant, legal person, are you flowing your businesses away from corporate culture and toward grassroots organizations? That could be cool. Another question here is, what and who does your business stand against? So for me, my business stands against capitalism, against urgency culture, and in the ways that I can, against Amazon, right? My business still involves Amazon. I use the internet, which is largely hosted on Amazon Web Services. My book, Against My Will, is available on Amazon, or at least I decided I wanted to keep it in distribution instead of removing it from Amazon. So there are ways that we can think about what are we flowing things away from? Really, this is all a question about channeling. Where are we pooling, distributing, channeling resources in our business? I think a nice follow-up for that is what values are at the center of your work. So I've put a link here of value lists, a value list you can use for inspiration, but maybe a core value for you is liberation. Maybe it is slowing down. Maybe it is embodiment and tending to your body in business, even though, capitalist efficiency culture so often demands that we ignore the body or reject or repress the body's needs. What values do you want to hold at the center of your work? And then after you think of those, how are they embedded in what you do and how you work? Right? Going back to those initial questions. These first questions are about the flow of resources, like to what end? Where is all of this stuff? Where is it coming from? Where is it going? But this is like what's happening in the business. If you have a core value of slowing down, how are you slowing down in the way that you work or in what you do or create? We could think about if your core value is slowing down, then you probably don't want to offer like a 12 or 24-hour turnaround time to your clients because that's going to make you work pretty fast, right? Maybe you want to build in a buffer. Maybe you want to put up an email autoresponder that says, I don't reply to emails for at least 72 hours, but I will get back to you. That's the way I slow down in my business, right? So embedding those values in what you do and how you work. And maybe also a little bit here thinking about how can you externalize that? How can you make that visible to others so that they know this is how you work and they know that you're rejecting some of the power over supremacist, anti-liberatory values that are embedded in so much of our culture. So that takes me to crystal clear commitments. So I think that this is a place where you can begin to make commitments to change. What is one way your business can create change next week? Can you redistribute some funds? Can you offer a pro bono session? Can you slow down for 1 hour of your workday? Can you put up a free workbook that helps people get right with their money so they have a little more to share, right? There are so many ways you can do this pretty immediately. So I like this prompt to help us just think about what are the small things. And then what's one way your business can create change next month? What's a slightly bigger project or a shift that's going to take a little more time to make? And finally, what's one way your business can create change next year or this year, like within the year, the span or the scope of a year? What's a bigger project that maybe it's going to take a little more time? I mean, you can do really deep value shifting work in a year, but it does take time to like shift and change, not just on the level of your behavior, but of your desires. This for me always happens around working less and slowing down. I hold this like ongoing desire to work less for profit such that I can work more for other people. But it's a slow process for me. It takes a lot of time for me to sort of divest from work and pull back from the computer, quite frankly. So instead of judging myself and giving up when I'm not a success, I just slow it back down. I commit to it long term and I stay committed. That's the crystal clear commitment. So with those prompts, I'm hoping that you can begin to uncover some ways that your business can create change. Not just business at large, not just, my business because you're listening to me talk about it, but your business, your work. And even if you don't exactly have a business yet, you can embed these questions and these practices into any creative sharing practice, any public sharing practice, any creative artistic practice that you're doing just for yourself. You can think about how is what you do making change? How is how you do it making change? And to what end are you doing it for such that it creates change? You can do that with anything that you might be creating or working on. And so the final thing inside of this workshop/dashboard is that I created a list of 50 ways your business can create change today. Now, some of these do take a little more time to actually operationalize, but my idea was that they were things that you could do in a day. So there's a list here. I'm going to read them briefly just as a sort of meditation in how much power we actually have to create change. But before I do that, I want to be very clear that this is not a to-do list. I'm not here saying you need to do each one of these things in your business. There is no winning at this. There is no doing it all, getting it all done. You can't just mark it off the list and then you've finished. Making change with your business is an ongoing practice, just like being in business and staying in business is an ongoing practice. Also, with the things on this list, some of them will not work for your business or your life. Some of these things will not be possible for you or available to you, and that is okay. I'm not here to say you can or should do every single one of these things. I'm hoping that you will hear this as an expansive set of possibilities. Maybe one or two or three even will flag for you as like, oh, I could do that. And then you will put them on your list of commitments for the weeks, months, years ahead. So, with that said, one of the ways I want to create change is to slow down and invite us to take a deep breath. To be with ourselves as we listen, as we meditate on change, as we consider if these ways of changing might be for us or these ways of creating change might work in our lives. I find that slowing down and taking a moment like this is an interruption in the status quo. This is an interruption in efficiency culture. So it feels like this little micro moment of making change in how we do things. And as you linger here with me, I'm going to read you this list of 50 ways your business can create change in a day. Number 1, donate your time to people that need your skills. Number 2, donate your money to organizations that need more resources. Number 3, donate your space to folks who need to gather. Number 4, host a free class. Number 5, host a donation-based workshop and donate the profits. Number 6, send a free newsletter full of resources. Number 7, teach a skill to a friend or a stranger. Number 8, publish an open letter about a cause that's important to you. Number 9, take great care of your clients or customers. Number 10, slow down standard processing or operating timelines. Number 11, leave social media. Number 12, embrace mutual aid, perhaps after learning about the difference between mutual aid and nonprofits. Number 13, host a donation-based giveaway and donate the proceeds. Number 14, collaborate with a friend or colleague. Number 15, get crystal clear on how much money you really need and redistribute the rest. Number 16, hire a team member and pay them well. Number 17, implement a sliding scale or pay what you can policy. Number 18, quit shopping with Amazon. Number 19, raise your prices for corporate clients and redistribute the excess. Number 20, lower your prices for clients in need. Number 21, keep your processes, offerings, and tech stack simple. Number 22, refer work to other values-aligned businesses regularly. Number 23, refuse to use manipulative sales tactics like income claim marketing. Number 24, eliminate punitive policies like late fees or higher prices for payment plans. Number 25, trust your clients and offer them choices. Number 26, trust your team and offer them choices. Number 27, implement non-hierarchical or consensus-oriented decision-making methods. Number 28, understand the difference between underrepresentation and under-recognition. Number 29, embrace cyclical selling and fallow periods in your revenue. Number 30, work less. Number 31, divest your money from big banks and the stock market. Number 32, clearly articulate your values and share them often. Number 33, speak up publicly about the people, things, and causes that matter to you. Number 34, assess how your business contributes to climate change, including when you use AI. Number 35, abandon exponential growth. Number 36, rebuke venture capital values and culture. Number 37, learn how to build resilient organizations. Number 38, make sure your website and branding are accessible for those with different visual abilities. Number 39, make sure your video and audio content is captioned or transcribed. Number 40, utilize image descriptions. Number 41, create a blog post or podcast that shares your technical or industry-specific knowledge. Number 42, embrace Creative Commons licensing. Number 43, break up with the 8-hour workday. Number 44, let your sales cycle linger and lengthen instead of forcing an urgent decision. Number 45, in fact, go on a scavenger hunt and root out urgency anywhere you find it in your business. Number 46, write a manifesto for liberation and publish it publicly. Number 47, give something away at least once a month or year. Number 48, cite the creators who inspire you and uplift the creators you inspire. Number 49, create your own list like this. And number 50, actually do something on it. So that was our list of 50 ways to create change with your business, 50 ways to help your business bring about the world that you hope to see, where hopefully we can all experience more freedom and love, where we can find interdependence, where we can get rid of those power over violent domination structures. I hope that this class, workshop, workbook of sorts, it leaves you feeling empowered to believe that your business can be a vessel for change because it is a vessel that pools and distributes resources. Your resources, your clients' resources, your customers' resources, your laborers' resources, your team's resources, it's all in there. Businesses are material entities, which means they can make material change. So I do believe that doing business, working in our businesses, working on our businesses, making our art, sharing it with the world, selling it even, I do believe all of that can be a force for liberation, can be an effort toward liberation. And as a result, I believe it has a place in this world that is so complicated and so fraught with pain and violence. Again, only your inner compass can guide you forward on any given day or week. There are certainly things that can happen that feel more important and are more important than business. However, your business still matters anyway. It's not a matter of more or less important. They can each be important. These things can all be important in their own ways and to their own degrees. So, once again, I hope this has been a nice pep talk for returning to your creative practice and for shaping or reshaping your business so that it can be a vessel and force for change in the world. If you want to join me on that journey, you can always find me at offthegrid.fun online or the Off the Grid Leaving Social Media podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. And for now, I'm going to step away from the computer. I am going to think more and perhaps put into action some crystal clear commitments for how my business can create change, starting with sharing this class for free. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope to see you in another corner of the internet where I hang out. And until then, you can find me off the grid.